All right, welcome back to the podcast. So, I was listening to this interview. So it was on No Jumper, so that podcast on YouTube, and it was an interview with the Liver King about his fitness journey. And some things were coming to mind when he started talking about combinations of things, like two things that kind of resonated with me. I'm not done listening to it yet, but two things that definitely resonated with me that I was like, oh, like that's very interesting. One thing was screen time, especially during leisure time, screen time, as that, compares to like, what do you call it? Like life purpose, I guess you would call it, or, I don't know. I remember once in grad school, we did this, this like small research project for an assignment on like lifestyle satisfaction. So sometimes that kind of terminology kind of comes to my mind, but something along those lines, lifestyle satisfaction and screen time. And then also with food intake, and how that is also related to lifestyle satisfaction. So those two things. So with screen time and with food intake, those are two things that I think, I don't know if I'd ever really thought about that before, about like, how to analyze the way that time is spent, like free time is spent. He kind of had this example, and he was saying, he knows a lot of people that, and he's mostly talking to guys, but he was saying he knows a lot of people who go to, the toilet, when they're taking number 2, and they sit on the toilet with their phone, and it's like, I mean, like, yeah, I do too, like, it's not like I'm sitting there for such a long time that I even can like get through anything, like, or whatever. Like, it's not like I'm taking that long. I do think actually when I have a little bit of a distraction, that process, probably TMI, but I feel like it is a little bit maybe like swifter of a process when I'm like a little distracted elsewhere. I know that like before, people used to, like, probably still, people used to keep like books and magazines in the toilet, like in the bathroom, in the toilet, not like literally in the toilet bowl itself, but yeah, I used to keep like reading material in there, because sometimes, I've noticed, I mean, this is definitely TMI, but like, when things get more stressful, I've definitely noticed the, bowel movements can be a little bit, more difficult, but I honestly, I have like, I mean, I've got this like poop time down, like it just, I poop at the same time every day, like that's just kind of how it goes. And like even this morning, for example, I try to have coffee at like 7:30 a.m. And this morning I remember, I needed the bathroom before that. So the process I prefer is to have coffee a little before, the poop session starts. I don't know why I'm explaining all this, but basically to have coffee before that, because it kind of also contributes to, bathroom time, especially on an empty stomach. For me, coffee just like goes straight through me. Like within a few minutes, it already triggers me to kind of need to use the restroom. And this morning I was like, making coffee, and I was like, it was already like on the dot of poop time. It was already there. Like, I was like, okay. So I remember I was like, okay, trying to do like this method where I was like, I want to have some coffee first. So I like took like one gulp of my coffee as I like went to my room first to grab my cell phone to go into the bathroom, when it was like literally like it would have been on its way. Like, if I was like somewhere else, like hiking or in a car or something, I would have needed to figure something out. Like, there was no that the time had come, so even this morning I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like grab my phone, and like, I don't know what I was watching. I watched like maybe like up to a minute worth of a video about somebody who was talking about like how to rank in Google, like current methods of ranking through blogs. And I had started that video on Tuesday, so I spent most of the time trying to go through my YouTube history and found that video. And then by the time I was starting to watch the video, I was already done with the bathroom portion. But I kind of watched a little bit of it. But I was like, what was the point in that? Like, I could have just left my phone over there and like just, because it was already like happening. Like, I wasn't like forcing it at all. It was forcing itself. Like, it was like, this is gonna happen. It's time. Like, the time had come, like, for sure. And so I found that interesting, because I did that process before I even listened to any of this interview. I didn't know I was gonna listen to this interview. Another interview actually got recommended to me from No Jumper, and then I was like, I don't really, I wasn't really interested in that person, but I remember that, No Jumper has a lot of interviews that I do like, and I had come across Liver King before, kind of recently, through a Joe Rogan. Was it Joe Rogan? Maybe it was Joe Rogan. I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast. No. It was what are they? Iced Coffee Hour with Jack and Graham Stephan. And so I was just kind of, it was like, I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, like, I don't really need my phone in the bathroom. Like, I'm not doing anything in there that is so laborious, and I even find myself like wishing that like when I'm taking a shower, that I had like a waterproof case so I could like listen to something in the background or whatever. And it's kind of like, really? Do I really need that in the shower, in the toilet, like in the, like, I don't really need to be that connected to listening to stuff when I'm cooking breakfast in the morning. I mostly have eggs, either fried eggs or scrambled eggs, some fruit, maybe some avocado, and like I mentioned, the coffee's before the breakfast. And like, these things don't take that long where it's like, why do I need to be like listening to something in the background? But I do like to listen to kind of like like career success content and kind of stuff about finance in the mornings, and kind of topics about kind of like, I don't know if you call self-help, but that kind of thing. And then while I'm working, I like to listen to podcasts in the background, and I think about these things. I'm like, why? I started thinking about this like while I was working, of course, and I started thinking, I'm like, why do I need these things going on so much while I'm working? Why do I want this in the background? It's kind of like, I'd rather hear stories and hear content than like focus on, of course I have incoming calls or outgoing calls that I have to make, but when I'm not making calls or on the phone and stuff like that, or in a meeting online, I like to hear other stuff going on, that is kind of things I want to hear, topics that interest me, this job does not interest me. Listening to people talk about their problems and calling people to talk about their problems and then taking the next however long to write reports about those problems that we just discussed. I mean, that is not fulfilling. I like the part where we're helping the people, but at the same time, it's draining my energy. So it's no longer something that's really a fulfilling process for me. So I do like to kind of just tune out and just be like, yeah, I did all my calls. Like, I do all the calls at a certain time period strategically so that I can spend multiple hours back to back just writing, and while I'm writing and doing paperwork and uploading mail and uploading faxes and all these kinds of things, while I'm doing all those steps, I'm usually listening to something in the background, because I do have like handwritten like little notes jotted down, and I basically just have to make like full sentences and write the notes in. And so it's like I don't want to focus on that, because the notes don't have to be perfect and I can write it, but it's just like now I have to go a second step of hearing or thinking about the same thing that I was just helping somebody with. I get like nothing out of that writing process. Like, there's nothing that's fulfilling to me or interesting or creative. It's just like technical writing. It's just boring. I like the part where, sometimes in notes I'll write in like kind of part of like a care plan aspect that I want to engage with, like something like, oh, like I think this person could benefit from this type of therapy, or like this is kind of like some way that I'd like to address this issue they're having. Like the problem solving aspect, I like that. I like writing about like, this is the strategic way that we're gonna like try to tackle this next. I like thinking about those ideas and I like writing about those ideas, but anything else is just like problem oriented, just like, it's not, I don't like not talking about the solutions and just talking about the issues. It's just like the complaints and the barriers, and it's just so like it's just so draining. So I do like to just totally just like check out when I'm writing about that kind of stuff, unless it's the part where I'm writing about like either like how good the session went, like some successful things that we're coming across, some success stories, or some kind of something along those lines. So that's kind of how I would describe my my experiences that's how I would describe my experiences pretty much, with just like my daytime use of screen time. That's not even including that like while I'm working I'm on the computer all day. That's not including that while I'm entertaining myself, or even working out, I'll usually have something playing in the background while I'm entertaining myself. Usually I'm watching movies or videos of some form, and then I'm on here like recording stuff online, creative wise, or I might be writing some music on my computer. I'm sometimes I don't use the computer just because lately I've got this issue. It's not a real issue, but it's like whenever I'm like in a common space in the house where the Wi-Fi is better, where I can use the Reason Studio software more easily, I've got family in there that's like chattering away, and so it kind of distracts me. Even when I have my headphones on, they just keep talking, and then so that, from my room where I have my keyboard, where I have my guitars. Well, one of my guitars is in the car right now, but my electric guitar and my amp are in my bedroom, and my keyboard is in my bedroom. My other acoustic guitar, sometimes I keep it in the car because that's the one that if I'm somewhere, I like to have it to play. But yeah, that's something that I do that doesn't involve a screen. Some of the writing I do doesn't involve a screen. It's like paper in like notebooks, journaling and that kind of thing. Like when I draw, I don't really do a lot of online drawing stuff. I do kind of more like drawing, sketching, like in sketchbooks, notebooks. And like I yeah, I catch up with people on the phone online, especially when I'm like super caffeinated. I'll send these lengthy caffeine driven messages to people, and they're all like long and like just like, oh my gosh, like blah, because I'm all hyper. And then yeah, so I do spend a lot of time on my phone, on my work computer. Not as much time on my personal laptop, but sometimes, depending if I'm working on something. Usually it's creative related things. And the creative stuff I do find fulfilling. Catching up with people, I definitely find that pretty fulfilling. So anything that's like music, podcasting, writing, drawing, anything along those lines, I usually find it pretty fulfilling. And then just like, I like podcasts and interviews and all that kind of stuff. I learn very well from like listening to people talk. There's something about it that I just like, and it's not necessarily that I want to hear people talking all the time. It's just, that's kind of easier for me to learn compared to like reading books. Like I like reading, but I'd rather just hear somebody saying it or just overhear. I'd rather just hear it. I feel like I focus better that way when I'm hearing somebody telling a story. But I also just really like stories. I really like people just talking about topics that I like and have an interest in. So that's another thing where I'm like, okay, like this interests me, so I'll listen to it. And I do listen to people talk all day, and I do talk to people most of the day. And so usually it's like, I'm not really interested in, that kind of stuff. Like when it's like something that, somebody could be a client for, usually, unless it's a close friend or family member, I don't usually want to hear that. Like if it's someone I'm newly meeting, I really don't want to spend my free time talking about their problems and issues. And even sometimes depending on how I'm actually feeling, like if I'm not feeling like great, then I really don't want to hear other people's problems and issues. And I do like sports, LA has a lot of teams, and so it's kind of easy to just almost any day of the week turn on the television and see one of LA's teams playing. That's pretty much normal. So those are some things that I like. But also, I can see how I use, like screen time to kind of fill a space of, just like, some of it's entertainment, some of it's leisure, some of it I do find fulfilling, and then others of it, it's kind of like drowning out, like definitely during work, it's like drowning out the least fulfilling parts of my day with just something I'd rather hear, and rather engage with. I'd much rather hear that kind of stuff than fully focus on what I'm writing at work, because the stuff I'm writing at work is just dull and negative and boring. Now, when I'm writing other types of stuff, like just for fun on my own, I'm usually not listening to anything in the background because I actually enjoy what I'm writing and I'm not, really just like killing time. I'm actually just like enjoying myself. So that's totally different. And then, so when it comes to food, the host was talking about how, sometimes, he would go and grab like one or two donuts at night or like a candy bar or something like 7-Eleven style snacks versus like eating like, fatty meals or something. But it's kind of like, and it's usually at night, and it's kind of like, that kind of eating is a different type of eating than like the unhealthy meals. Now for me, there are some meals that definitely I could have maybe eaten half of it because the portions are big when you get takeout. It's usually 2 meals in one, let's be real. Like usually the amount of food you get at a restaurant is for 2 meals. You can eat it all. Usually it's an amount that you can eat the whole thing, but it's like usually, like if you were going to cook for yourself at home, you probably wouldn't eat as much as you usually get served at a restaurant. But usually the food's really good. It's tasty. You paid for it. You paid a fortune for it. If you got it delivered, you paid an arm and a leg. And you're eating it. And for me, if I've got the munchies because I've got some THC in my system, I'm definitely going to eat the whole thing. Like, no doubt, I'm going to eat it all. Or at least try to save it and then still eat it like within a couple hours. And so usually that definitely contributes to me eating like way too much. So stoned eating is not something I would recommend. It's just not a good way to control your food intake and your choices about food. I feel like that is the easiest way for me to make the absolute worst decisions with eating is to be stoned and hungry. And so, I mean, being stoned isn't like a necessity, but it's kind of easy to accidentally get there. And then also I'm pretty sensitive to everything, caffeine, cannabis related things, alcohol, like everything. And so I don't really take a lot to actually feel it a lot. And so it's just timing with certain stuff. Like I'm not stoned all the time so much that it's like, oh my God, I'm stoned again. Oops, I got to eat a pizza. It's like, it's just bad planning usually. I noticed my worst planning tends to be after work. If I would slow down after I log off at like 4 p.m. and I would just kind of strategically plan that portion of my day out, I feel like I'd be better off. Like I noticed that I don't plan, like I plan the beginning of my day because I'm up so early. I kind of like sit and think, okay, this is what I'm gonna do when I start work. Before work, I'm gonna eat this for breakfast and have coffee at this time. And like this morning I was up a little before 7, which is good. I actually slept really good compared to the night before. I think I was asleep before 11. Woke up probably around 6:30 a.m., which is late for me, but that was good because I slept enough. I felt fine. And I was like, well, I'm going to have coffee anyways. And I was like, I'm going to make a bulletproof coffee. But having that so close to breakfast isn't really ideal for me. I usually like to have a bulletproof coffee as breakfast. But I was also not drinking the whole coffee. I was only going to drink half of the cup of coffee because it's weak Folgers coffee. So I was like, I'm going to have half of this small cup of coffee, and I put some grass-fed ghee in it and some MCT oil and had half of it. Like I mentioned, the 7:30 poop time, half of it. And then around 8:30, after I'd logged into work and everything and was waiting for the supervisor to kind of update us on details, I made a scramble. It was just basically, I put So last night my mom made these like salads, but she kind of cut up some like put some little pieces of like pre-sliced like cheddar cheese in it, and it was just like kale from the garden with a little bit of like carrot shavings and some green peppers, green bell peppers. So I basically picked out some of the, I didn't eat that last night. I didn't see it till this morning. And then I took like half of the kale out of that salad and the half of the bell peppers, kind of chopped them up, stuck them on a pan, scrambled up some eggs in there, and then threw some like pico de gallo in there. And basically that was my eggs with like, I don't know, 5 or so strawberries. And then for, a snack around 10, o'clock, I get some sun around 10 a.m. It's nice and sunny and bright outside. From 10 a.m., I start trying to get sun every like 60 to 90 minutes. Just go outside. And even if I'm on the phone or on hold, like right now, I'm still freaking on hold. Even if I'm on the phone or on hold, I'll go over there and do that. So I'll go outside, on the front step and just kind of stand in the sunlight and just absorb some sun rays, and it feels good and it's nice. And with the recent heat wave, it's interesting, but I can tell I'm not getting enough sun just because it feels so odd to feel the sun on my skin. I'm like, dude, this is like a weird feeling because I've been indoors so much lately. That's not good. So I definitely need more outdoor time because sunlight is starting to feel almost like foreign. And we're reaching the time of year where we're lucky to get a heat wave, honestly, because not just a few days ago I was just complaining about having like almost 3 consecutive like gloomy weather days where I hadn't seen the sun at all, and I was just like not even hardly functioning properly because of that. So yeah, so definitely the yeah, just like eating, like I ate half a perfect bar around 10, and make sure I finish a bottle of water by then too. So that was maybe my second bottle of water and a little bit of coffee. That's kind of when I do at about a 10 o'clock break. And so that was fine for me. I wasn't feeling, I felt like I needed a little break, but not too much. And then, I've been on hold since. And so that's kind of how that went for me. Like I've just been kind of chilling. And, lunch, I mean, I've got, either a salad I could eat for lunch, or I've got oats. I'm probably going to make oatmeal for lunch, honestly. Like I eat my 12 or 12:30 lunch at my desk while I'm working, while I'm on hold still, or doing other stuff. I don't count it as a lunch break at that time. I actually take my lunch break around 1:30, so that I can exercise, for 30 minutes during my actual lunch break, that I'm actually offline during that 30-minute period. But I eat around 12:30, so I'll have like some kind of like food in my system, to hopefully get in a better workout. And that actually helps it, so that the last couple hours of my day, I'm not usually feeling that that energy crash from my lunch. I might have a sip of a pre-workout, but that's too much considering that I'm drinking like a cup of coffee today. And then I'll usually have a protein shake probably around 2 something. I didn't get the ones I wanted. I didn't get the Orgain. I like the Orgain organic ones. I got the muscle milk ones just because they were more cost effective, and I didn't want dairy. But I feel like it might be better for me to actually get the grass-fed dairy Orgain ones compared to the non-dairy, muscle milk ones, because the muscle milk ones are they're more, I think they've got a lot of artificial stuff in there, and I think the Orgain ones are all like organic and natural, but I like the plant-based ones better. But I guess I've noticed that when I drink the Orgain ones, like I'm lactose and I don't get like any kind of, not that I don't remember getting any kind of like lactose related issues. So I need to get more protein shakes. I should probably just go to Nijiao Market and grab a whole bunch of sashimi, because that's kind of what I'm feeling like I want. And I might need to meal prep a little bit. This week I ate a lot of, other than my egg breakfasts and stuff, I ate a lot of like veggie dogs from Sprouts, and some pot sticker meals with some what do you freaking call, like kimchi and some spicy tofu and bean sprouts and stuff like that, seaweed, some vegan chili, some split pea soup. I mean, I've eaten all kinds of stuff this week. I had Peruvian food. That was the big meal I ate. I try to eat one big takeout meal a week, but I might scale that back because it seems excessive. And I do a weigh-in day on Thursday mornings, just to see where I'm at with things. Like, I don't really track my weight like that. Like, I'm not really, like, for me it doesn't make much sense to track my weight, because I gain like muscle mass pretty quickly, and so it doesn't make a lot of sense to track my weight. But I just do it because I want it recorded. I'm not necessarily trying to lose weight, like as far as like the numbers going down. It's more like, I know I'm like training for like snowboard season, but I'm really doing so bad with it. So I started basically doing more yoga, more stretching, like at least 15 minutes minimal, if not 30 minutes of yoga, and then more like strength in the evenings. So usually my lunch break that I spend has become just like yoga. I don't like it. But the thing, it's not that I don't like yoga. I love yoga. I don't like doing yoga in the middle of the day. I like to do it at the end of the day. But the thing is, my body's so like out of shape with my shoulders, my hips, my back, because I'm old as fuck now. And so basically, and just very sedentary. And so I've noticed that it takes a lot more stretching related activities to be able to sustain myself through multiple weekday and weekend workouts, and trying to like keep up with those workouts. And now that I have Mondays off, I really need to be doing like at least Saturday through Monday, if not like a combination of some of the days of Friday after work through Monday. At least I was doing 2 lengthy workouts on those weekend days, but I think I could step it up to 3 or 4 at this point, because my weekday workouts are so weak, with the doing it during work and only having the 30 minutes, and then that being like a yoga time, and I feel like I'm not really doing what I need to do. But I feel like focusing on that kind of stuff and just strategizing, I do that with finances, with everything. I get a lot of fulfillment out of that, and just like hitting goals and like seeing results and stuff. That's kind of just, that alone I find more fulfilling than just vegging out and like watching whatever. But I'm probably gonna watch hockey tonight because I like it, and I find it fulfilling to watch teams play. I don't know. I might watch. Um, I don't know. Everyone's watching the Padres, so I might flip back and forth. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm kind of. That's kind of like where, like, some stuff that I really found relevant and interesting to listen to this morning, because it was definitely just a way I'd never really thought about things, like thinking about screen time, thinking about how to choose what we eat and when and that kind of stuff. It's like, the amount of time sometimes it takes to go out and get some fast food and get this thing and do that thing, it's like, could have already had a workout done. And, if you have a meal prep, you'd have that done too. And so I don't really know. I might just need to do meal prepping. I'm such a simple person. Like, I don't really need that much, like, luxury with my food. Like, if I just had all the meat related stuff and all the stuff that I was gonna cook just like prepared already, then I think I'd be good to go. But I do think for me dinners are the hard one, because I'm lacking energy to make the best decisions for that part of my day. Like, pretty much anything after I log off work from 4 p.m. and on, it's just me winging it. And I feel like the rest, like everything from, probably like 5:30, 6:30 a.m. to like 4 p.m. is very strategically planned. So if I could kind of get those last few hours out of my day, kind of more strategy into it versus just like vegging out or just like randomly just like, doing whatever, I think that's kind of more so where I'm falling short. I'm not falling short like everywhere, but I think usually it's really just those last portions of the day. And that really does determine also how I'm going to sleep. And as we all know, I've got issues with insomnia, but I do think that those issues come from, if I'm making poor decisions later in the day, things that I might be eating, if I do decide to have a drink or have an edible or whatever it may be. Like, again, these aren't daily things, but it's like even once a week, having like a bad night's sleep just throws off the next day and throws off that night and throws off my next morning and throws off at least one or 2 days just to have one night that's kind of off with my sleep. And I do tend to have pretty bad sleep, but I will honestly say that when my sleep is good, this late this summer up until now, I've probably had some of the best restful sleep and healthy feeling days that I've felt in my life since like forever, since before high school, since maybe I feel like my master's program, those 3 years, at least the first two, were pretty healthy motivational years where I did learn and know a lot about myself and was pretty motivated and was exercising regularly and had really good friendships, relationships. Like, my social life was just kind of great. My life with like music and all that kind of stuff was just going really smoothly. I feel like that year, I don't think I ever was concerned about sleep or anything, and I got stressed, but it was like manageable. And I definitely exercised every day because I was walking a lot, to and from class, all around campus, carrying a guitar. I had a 17-inch monitor HP laptop that I would lug all over campus with my backpack and all this other stuff. Like, I was just like, had all this gear with me, walking up and down hills and stairs. Like, I never took elevators because our elevators were weird, so I'd walk up like 4 or 5 flights of stairs and like walk all the way across campus, uphill to my car, back to my car to get other stuff, drop stuff off. You know, it was like at least a 25 minute walk one way to the car. And so, yeah, I was definitely doing a lot of walking just from trying to save money parking off campus. I parked off campus just so I could walk more, and had some friends that we would walk together and, you know, catch up and stuff. And it was just daily exercise. So it was really nice. And this year, I think, compared to that year, is probably a year that feels similar. I think I definitely struggled with a lot during my high school years. Definitely struggled with a lot, not so much during my first years of undergrad. I don't really remember too much of my undergrad, honestly. I kind of was just plowing through. But I feel like I was able to just like do it. Like, I don't remember having any major time periods in my undergrad where I was just like either super depressed or having like major issues with like waking up and like all that kind of stuff. I definitely, you know, I used to study with friends. So, you know, I'd always study in coffee shops or go with friends, you know, to Borders bookstore when it still existed, or like Barnes & Noble, Denny's, Starbucks. You know, we'd go almost every single day, and I would have coffee in the evenings, which I didn't really realize was affecting my sleep. But I'd also be up all night studying a lot too. And then, yeah, so that's basically how I was living my life back then. And I found it fulfilling. I found it good, interesting, fun. And then when it comes to just kind of comparing that to kind of every single thing that was happening when I was in grad school in San Diego, and then the job that I got into and how that affected things, and then the job I'm in now. Pretty much all that combined is like, there's a lot of non-fulfilling aspects of things, but health-wise, I feel like I know more now. I kind of know myself a lot better now, and yeah, as far as like you know, like things with like screen time and food intake and stuff like that, like I think those two things really can be important clues as to why certain decisions are going one way versus another. And I don't know if I'd ever really caught on to that before, but I think it is something to look at and be like, why am I doing this way instead of just like not doing it, or instead of doing something differently? Why am I choosing to grab my phone? Why am I choosing to grab my laptop? You know, why am I choosing this versus not this? You know, why am I choosing, you know, certain types of spending habits? Why am I choosing, you know, certain types of things that I'm gonna eat or not eat, you know, or skipping a workout or getting in a good one, or, you know, a lot of times it's easy for me to look back. I think I talked about this before. I've started doing these reflection times, like sunset and sunrise, because like the sun comes up so late now. It's like, it's easy to do like a 7:00 sunrise. You know, it's like, it's 7:00. It's already, that's late in my opinion. 7 a.m. is kind of late already in the morning. So, you know, I am rarely still asleep by 7 a.m. But yeah, reflection times, 7 a.m. ish, and then like 6:15 p.m. ish. I think those are easy ways to reflect. Just like plan the day, reflect on yesterday evening, plan the day. And then it's like an after work reflection on the day, like how was performance at work, how was my energy today, what am I doing for the rest of the evening. Even just taking like a few minutes on both of those ends just to kind of reflect on things is kind of like nice. And yeah, like I try not to be hard on myself about stuff. I'm not like being like challenging with myself on stuff, like negative with myself on stuff, but I'm trying to be more like just understanding of things, kind of coach myself through stuff. If I need to be like a little stern on something, you're just like, hey, look, you gotta like fix this. But otherwise it's like, definitely just the way that the internal dialogue I have with myself is definitely different. And yeah, so I gotta get back to what I need to be doing here. And Jesus, these people never answer. I swear, this is why we never get anything done, you guys. This is the healthcare system. Like, I've been on hold for at least 50 minutes now. The call dropped twice. I'm annoyed. But, all right, guys. But thanks for listening. You know, man.